Hello, friends. Yesterday, you may have, well, I guess it was early this morning, not yesterday. You may have seen me. I was playing with my gel press plate and alcohol inks and stencils. And so today I wanted to use some rubber stamps and show you how that would look. So I'm going to just get a tool, a couple of tools here, and put my felt applicators on the tools. Sometimes they don't want to stick as well as I like them to. Pushing those down. I'm going to need a few because I'm going to use one for my alcohol lift ink, and I'm going to use a couple for the different colors. So I'm going to start out with this butterscotch. This is an old favorite color of mine. I've used it for many years, and I'm just going to randomly put some butterscotch down here. And then comes some stream, and I think maybe one other color. I can't remember. Anyway, oh yeah, it was slate, I think. I'm going to move that around with a tool and get my plate coated. These are those Tim Holtz Distress tools, and they have the felt, not the foam, but the felt on the applicator. So I'm just moving that around. I'm starting with the lightest tone, or trying to hit the lightest tone first as I move it around. So I don't really want a lot of blending going on here. And as I'm looking at it, I'm thinking it's really pretty bright. I might want to dull it down a little bit. So I'm going to come back with some black. Just see what that does. I want to lift this with a stamp. And I want it to show up. So, you know, in a video, some of those light, translucent things don't always show up well. So I wanted to add enough darkness that you guys could see it. It really would have been visible without that to the naked eye, but, you know, video is a little bit different than when you're right there doing something. So let's see, where are we with this? Just moving out some of the ink, adding a little bit more of that butterscotch back in. It seems like most of the butterscotch had disappeared, and I wanted some of that in there, so just adding things back. So now what I want to do is get my alcohol lift ink stamp pad, and I am going to ink up some rubber stamps. These stamps I'm using are from Seth Apter, and you can check out his store if you're interested in any of his stamps. I'll try to get a link in the description box. So I'm just going to mount this on an acrylic block and hit it with that alcohol lift ink, and then I'm going to stamp it into my gel plate that has the alcohol on it, lift some of that ink, and then I have a piece of just plain cardstock over there to my right, and I'm going to stamp that ink off and do it again, ink it up, stamp it off, and continue to remove some of the alcohol from the gel plate to make an impression. Plus, I'm getting the secondary stamping, which is kind of cool, on this other piece of paper. So you can use those as elements in your journal or on a card, whatever you want to do. But those are alcohol inks on just plain cardstock, and they're beautiful. So that time I forgot to put the lift ink on it, and the alcohol what happens is the alcohol gets stuck to the rubber. So I had to clean my stamp with alcohol just to get the alcohol ink off of it. But you can see it leaves a much larger impression than when I use the lift ink. It doesn't stick with the lift ink. It pulls it up and leaves the impression. So, there you have it. That's what happens. That's the difference. In case you are wondering, what did I do differently? What made the difference here? So I think I'm about done with that stamp. I'm going to grab another stamp, which is another Seth Apter stamp. He has great sets of stamps if you're interested. Seth also designed some stencils for Stencil Girl, and I've taken several classes with him and Mary Beth, and they're both great teachers, so check them out. His blog and website is full of information. He has wonderful artworks for sale, so go over and check him out. Even if you're not buying something, check out his website. A lot of the links that I give you to people are just, for educational purposes too. Yeah, it's good if you follow my links and purchase something from Amazon and all that. But, if you want to learn about products and you want to know more about them, sometimes if you just follow that link to get information, if you don't know what something is, use my link and go follow it so that you can, find out about something. You don't have to buy. You can just read the information about a product. So I keep telling people, look at the backs of your stamp pads. There's a lot of information there about what you're getting, whether it's a pigment or what's included in that stamp pad. And it tells you, is something permanent? Is it not permanent? Is it translucent? Is it a opaque pigment? All that information is there for you. So, utilize the tools that are here for you to go find out more information. So I'm happy with what I have on the plate now. I think I like that, and I think I'm getting ready to lift an impression. So I'm going to use some golden Titan Buff paint to do my lift with. Now, Gel Press has lots of different sizes of gel printing plates. I'm using two different ones here. I have my 5x7 that I have the alcohol ink on, and I'm using the 3x5 as just a paint palette. And I'm going to roll that paint out because I don't want to go directly to the larger plate because I don't want to smear any ink around. So I'm just getting that brayer full of the Titan Buff, and I want to put a very thin coat of that paint down over the alcohol ink. So carefully, I will just put a thin coat down, and I just want enough to moisten that ink that's on the plate so that it'll lift. I want to be able to see the design through the paint, and you can still see it there, but there's enough paint on there that it will moisten that ink and I'll be able to lift it. So I'm going to get a piece of watercolor paper. This is just from a cheap watercolor pad, but it's going to be one of those papers that's absorbent enough that it's going to soak up that ink and paint, And I'm using that stamp once again to put some marks into the paint that's on the small plate, because we don't want to waste that either, right? You've got all this stuff out on the gel plate, and that's one of the things that I love about working with a gel plate, is because you've got paint and ink on those plates, you can continue to work it and pick it up and get multiple layers and ghost prints and lots of different prints off of what you have, and you haven't wasted a thing. So now I'm going to, you can see how long, this is in real time. And because it's in real time, you're going to know just how long it takes for some of that to, you want to wait until that stuff soaks up into the paper. You don't want to immediately pull. So I'm rubbing it to make sure I've got good contact with the plate. I've just got a piece of deli paper over the top so I don't get my hands all in the excess paint. And I'm going to add some alcohol ink to the paint that's on the 3x5. This one is actually one of those mixative paints. It has some metallic in it. And if you're using a mixative, remember that you need to shake the bottle so that you mix up all of the pigment or mica or whatever it is that's in the bottom, so that it has that shimmery look to it. I'm going to brayer that out a little bit on that plate, and then I'm going to grab a piece of paper to pull that print also. And I'm just using it like a regular stamp pad. You could do this into a journal. You could just take this and put that right on a journal page, because you can pick it up and use it just like a rubber stamp. So you can rub that down and make sure that's making good contact. And once again, this is in real time. So I'm going to pull these couple of prints, and then we'll speed things up a little bit so that you can see how I continued. But isn't that cool? That's a great print. I love it. It's not like a crisp stamp. Sometimes you don't want things to just look like a stamped image. You want to have something that's more abstract or mixed media like, and that's what I'm going for, the grungy look with these prints. And I'm loving what's happening with this alcohol ink and paints and stamps and stencils on the gel press. Let's see, did I give you the money shot, or is it going to be at the end? I don't know. I was talking with my friends. There we go. So there you can see the two prints that. So now I'm going to speed things up 4 times fast. You've seen what it's like in real time, and I'm just going to show you some of what I do when I play. I'm adding inks. I've still got some stuff on that plate. I want to pull what's there. So I'm going to get some more ink down on that plate and get some of the Titan Buff. This is dry enough that I felt I could go directly to the plate with this. I didn't put very much Titan Buff on there, but it was still more than I wanted, so I had to take some off. And I'm getting a piece of watercolor cardstock, watercolor paper, cardstock, and rubbing it, making sure it's making good contact with the plate. And up it comes, and oh, grungy goodness, right? Grungy goodness. So now I'm adding another stencil. This is a Stencil Girl stencil and some more alcohol ink. I just want to continue to play and make some cool prints. So this time I'm going to brayer the ink into the background over that stencil. And I'm going to pick up some of that ink with the rubber stamp, lifting that ink. Just cleaning off my stencil here a little bit. I've still got everything on the plate that's ready for pickup. I'm going to add a little bit of Titan Buff. And now I'm going to print that. So you can see the process just continues. You know, all the things that you can think of to layer and play with, do so. And another really cool alcohol ink print. So there you have it. That's the play for today. See you again next time.